At times, we swallow more untruth than our digestive system could tolerate. All sorts of cons and lies just coated with candy. So do not be too eager to buy things sugary. Ladies, so the man say he love you deeply. And he says it so sweetly. But he unemployed. No degree, no application for job or university, but he say he will marry you, put you in house and provide completely. He wearing brand names and looking trendy, but to meet you, he have to take a taxi. And as if that wasn't bad enough, for the fare from his mother, he borrow a 20. You see, he's a scrunter. He broke flat, but have all kind of sweet chat, and you buy that. In school, your girl child lose interest and aim. In 2 months, it's 2 new gold chain, and where they come from, she cannot claim. But coming home late and treating you with disdain, disregarding your concern and pain, but she hugging up the cell phone and giggling, whispering without shame, then telling you it's homework she trying to explain. And that is not some boy that breathing down she back, and as a parent, you buy that? You see, when it is you find things in your child's possession that you didn't buy, pause, open your eyes wide and investigate before it is too late. A gold pen in your son's jeans, a ring way above his pocket change means a wad of money in a soap dish in the drawer, and another set wrap up in a shoe behind the door. And when you ask him where he get it, he say he holding that for a friend. Well, he must be a bank, watching you in your face and telling you tittle-tat. And as a parent, come now, you buy that?
Mr. Dellon, Mathison, poet. I mean, I listened to that piece and I'm thinking, that is probably the reality that we're in, you know.
Definitely.
From where you said that is reality that you see?
It is. It is a reality that I see. It is a reality that I think a lot of people can see and identify with, you know.
Especially with social media.
Definitely, yeah. And with the current way you see youths, things going on with the youth and whatnot, you know, it definitely is something that is very real. It's ever present. It was actually written by my mentor, Deborah Jabatis, more than 10 years ago, and you see it still unfolding today. So, you know, it shows the relevance of poetry and the timelessness of, you know, literature.
Yeah, literature is a timeless piece, as they would say. You learn from other people's writing, you learn from your own work, and people can learn from what you put out there for them as well. The motivation behind this piece and doing this piece this morning, you know, where did that come from, and why this particular piece?
Well, I always, all the pieces I perform always have like such a strong and potent message. But when I found out that I was coming here this morning, I wanted something that I felt the audience could really identify with, that could get them excited about coming to the show and seeing what poetry is about and whatnot. So that's basically what I wanted to target, that issue of relevance. And I felt like this was a very, very relevant topic and something to talk about.
You talk about 10 years ago, and we're still seeing it today. What do you foresee in the future for us? Do you think that this would continue to be the reality in some instances?
Well, I think in a lot of cases, it will continue to be the reality, but I am an avid supporter of youth development, and I believe that we can change a lot of things, but there are certain elements that is almost impossible to get rid of.
You talk about changing certain things and youth development. What do you think you can change, and how do you plan to do that?
Well, I believe that change starts with myself.
Right.
And I try to make myself an exemplar for fellow youth, my fellow youth. I do that by firstly setting the example, encouraging, motivating. And I perform a lot, and I write my own poetry, actually. I'm working on a book. And I try to use my poetry to send very strong messages to the youth, to motivate them into a positive direction. So I believe, you know, that's my step there.
You have a name for the piece that you just performed?
Yes, it's called You Buy That. Yes.
you talk about motivating the youth. Now, hearing this, how do you think people would accept the message that is being sent? Not just the youth, but also the parents.
Yes, I think it's definitely one that would be easily accepted because it's something that people could identify with. It isn't alien, it isn't far from the reality which we are facing today. And because people can identify, when you find something you can identify with, it is easier for you to accept and to feel more connected to it. So I believe that connectedness is really what drives that identification.
Why do you think that I listened to the poem as best as I could, and talking about the gold chain and don't have a job, not going to school, you don't have that degree, whatever. Why is it you think that young men in particular don't focus on these things, especially at a young age, and then they want to get married at 25, 26, and then they don't have anything to do, they don't have an income, and then everybody remain there and suffer?
Why do I think? Well, young men, it's very hard
as a young man yourself, and me as a young man, and Carrie as a young man.
Well, because of that, I think it's hard for me to say, because I was never the typical young male. I grew up in a situation that wasn't ideal. I wouldn't get into that. Because I grew up in such a situation, I always felt the need to persevere and to become more than just a statistic, become more than just what people might expect me to do, to become. And because of that, that was my driving force. I wanted to make my mother proud. That was my driving force. So for young men, it's very different. Some of them, some young men, they are in certain situations that they feel they just need to adapt to become part of, to survive, you know, and that isn't always the best route. So I believe it's very important for us to try to inspire people to become more than their situation.
Yeah, and Carrie, you hear this, you would have gone to school with young men, you would have interacted with them, you went to presentation college. Right. When you talked to your friends back then and you look at where some of them are now, do you think that they have really lived up to their potential?
I'd say a great majority of them have, and they are still on the road to realizing their full potential. Just as I am, you know, they're, you know, everybody came from different walks of life, but because of the surroundings we were in and the influences we would have had around us, a great majority of us, I would say, we do have ambition and are pushing forward to become something more than a statistic, as Dellon said. Yeah. You know, so I've been fortunate in that sense.
Yeah, so I guess it goes back to that motivation and inspiration that you have to succeed, because, I mean, some people might come from a single-parent home, and then they excelled, but somebody else might be in a similar situation and probably go down a different path. Yeah. So again, it comes back to you motivating yourself and probably the mother figure or the father figure in a broken home scenario. All right, so I want to change the conversation a little bit now. Let's get to know Dellon Mathison. I think the way you spoke, we get to figure out a lot about you. But let's just hear it so people don't just see you.
Well, I am a student at the University of the West Indies. I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree in education, youth guidance, because I am really passionate about the youth and youth development. And yeah, I am a performer. I've been performing for the past maybe like 14 years. I was discovered by my mentor. She's the founder of the Oratory Foundation and the author of the piece that I was just performing there. I love Shakespeare. I'm into so many things. It's like you asked me to talk about myself, I don't know where to start. So
let me rephrase that then. Tell me the coolest thing that you've ever done and then the stupidest thing that you've ever done.
Oh, wow. I don't want to embarrass myself. The coolest thing I've ever done, I usually don't do like risky things. And one time I was in Stratford and I went on a Ferris wheel and it was like the most amazing experience. Okay. So that was probably really cool.
So you're a risk taker?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so that's what
made that so cool.
Oh.
And the stupidest thing I've ever done, it's probably too many, to be biased to just one.
Oh, okay.
You know, but I try now not to do too many stupid things.
Really, but it's all part of taking risks and enjoying life. It's good to take a risk now and then. No,
that was my risk, the Ferris.
A responsible risk.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the bat. You know. That itself is probably a risk.
Okay.
Risk of embarrassing myself on national television.
Nah, I don't think you do that. Dellon Mathison, thank you so very much for joining us this morning. I think that a bright young fellow who would be able to inspire a lot of people through your poem, your poetry. Yes. And in saying that, I'd like you to take us to a break with a piece.
Okay.
All right. So
anything?
Take the stage, Mr. Dellon Mathison. It's all yours.
This piece is called Plant Picker, Don't Look for Peas. You're looking for something wholesome. How come? When you plant none. You come here looking for peas, milk and honey and flowing ease. Is picker your plant? Look for that. When your children was growing up, where you was? Every night they in a quarrel while you just sending sneakers in a barrel. Nowhere wrong to point out right from wrong, but now you come back in style and asking why. Why the children so rebellious and out of hand? You see, you don't understand the basic principle in planting land. So don't look to drop down on your knees and grieve. If you plant picker, don't look for peas. Listen, we were supposed to go to a break with that, but I remember the first time I heard that piece, and it was so brilliantly put together. Yes, I think I and even in my writing now, I try to use a lot of our old sayings, right, and expound on it, like to make sense of it to the public and whatnot, because it's things that people don't typically know about. And they don't think about it either. They don't. Until somebody brings it to the fore. You know, and it's these things resonate so much in society, and I believe there's so much power in it, and when given the touch of poetry, it becomes magnificent. Yeah. Where can people find you to find more of your work and be inspired? Well, my work, I keep it a little secret for now because I am working on a book. Okay. That will be published very soon. I'm almost finished, actually. But people can follow me on social media. I usually post like one or two little things there. Should I? Yeah. Well, my social media account, I have an Instagram account. That's Floyd_Dellon. That's FLOYD_DELLON. Mm-hmm. You can find me there. Or my Facebook account, which is my real name, Dellon Mathison. Yeah. All right, thank you very much for joining us. We take a break now and come back. Stay with us.